Welcome to the Under Construction Podcast with me, Martin Williams. Here we talk about how to build or rebuild your life one step at a time. Let's get to work. And welcome to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the power of day two. Now, you may be saying, what does that mean? What does day two mean, right? So, whenever you start something, no matter what it is, right, there's always a day one. If you start a new workout program, a new hobby, a new skill, a new job, there's always a day one, right? And anytime you want to make a life change, there's always going to be a day one, right? There's always going to be a first time for everything. And it can be a challenge to start, but most people will start. Most people will try anything at least once, right? So starting, even though it's an accomplishment, it's not always the toughest thing for a lot of people, okay? There are a lot of people who start a lot of things, but the problem is continuing those things and ultimately finishing, right? And that's certainly been the case for me. I'm someone who started a lot of things in his life, right? I've started a lot of things. I've signed up for a lot of things. I started a lot of things, and I realized, you know what? Maybe this isn't the thing for me. And in cases like that, that's okay. It's always going to be things that you try and it's not what you thought it would be. So you change your mind, you decide to not do it anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that, no matter what anyone says. Because there are some things you just don't find out until you try, until you experience them for yourself. But you can't make that a habit in life. You can't make it a habit to continually start things and never finish them, okay? So day one is always going to be the start day, right? But what you do on day two is really what determines the course and the quality of your life. Day two is basically making a decision that I'm going to continue doing this. It's making a decision that I'm going to continue learning this skill, even though it's challenging everything in me, even though it's hard, even though it's not coming naturally, right? I'm going to continue doing this podcast even though no one's listening. I'm going to continue doing this blog even though no one's reading. I'm going to continue doing this job, even though it doesn't seem like it might work out. There's something about continuing things and building up momentum and consistency that makes things happen. Day two is where it's at. And you might say, okay, well, what about day three, or day four, day five? I want to stay on day two because really you're just going to have a succession, of day twos. You're going to have one day two after another, after another, after another, right? If you're trying to build a business, right, you may have 1,000 day twos, okay? But it's what you do on those day twos and basically making a decision that I am going to continue doing this no matter what happens in my life, right? Building that level of consistency is really what's going to separate you from most people, because most people quit along the way. Most people give up. Most people just don't continue. They don't want to do it, or they feel like it's a waste of time, or they feel like, what's the point? They feel like no one's watching, no one's reading, no one's listening. What's the point, right? And it's easy to give up. It's easy to quit. It's easy to move on to something else. We get overwhelmed. We get distracted. The older you are, the more you got going on in your life, right? You may be married, you may have kids, you may have responsibilities, and you decided, okay, I'm going to start doing this thing, whatever it is, and it's not going so hot, but you made a decision to do it. So why not see it through, right? Why not continue? Why not see where you'll end up in a year? Okay. That's really what day 2 is all about. Because if I quit, I don't get the reward. Okay. If I quit, I don't get what I wanted to get out of this. Right. So you make a decision and you say, okay, for a year, I'm going to stick with it. And after a year, let's see where I'm at. One thing I tell young people all the time is, especially if you don't have any children, if you're just starting out, why not try a career for a year or two and see if you like it? If you're 22 and you start a career and it doesn't work out, in 2 years, you'll be 24. That's not bad, right? You still got a long time to really figure out what it is that you're here to do. And plus you'll have the 2 years of experience. And that's really the whole point that I want to make here, and why you want to continue and you don't want to quit, is that at the end of the year, maybe you won't be a millionaire if you're starting a business or you're starting some sort of enterprise. Maybe you won't be a millionaire. Maybe you won't be able to retire, right? But you'll have a year of experience. You'll have a year of solid experience doing whatever it is you're doing, and you can only get better from that. You can only improve from that. You can only learn and leverage that experience into more wins. So I want to encourage you, if you're on a day 2, if you're on a day where things aren't really, working out the way that you thought they would, hang in there and stick with it, right? Now, if it's something that is harming you in some way, then, I'm not saying stay in that. But, if it's something where it's, it's just a little challenging right now, hang in there and stay with it, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you get better. And in the grand scheme of things, in most cases, you'll be happy that you stuck with it. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Under Construction Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For more information on Guided Expressions courses and products, go to guidedexpressions.com/products.